Basically, in this video, we will study about the introduction, definition, components, types, application, conclusion of centrifugation. Introduction. Centrifugation is a process which involves the use of centrifugal force for the sedimentation of heterogeneous mixture with a centrifuge used in industry and laboratory settings. That means we use the centrifugal force, we apply the centrifugal force for separating the liquid components. This process is used to separate two immiscible liquids. Theodor Sieberg, he 1884 to 1971, he was a chemist from Sweden, won the Nobel Prize in 1926 and 1908. He described a new method that is we called as centrifuge, ultracentrifuge, of producing colloid particles and gave a convincing evidence of the validity of the theory on Brownian movement. Definition. Centrifugation is a technique used for separating particles from a solution according to their size, shape, density, viscosity of medium and rotor speed. Centrifuge. A centrifuge is a part of equipment that put an object in rotation around a fixed axis. That means it is spinning in a circle, applying a potentially strong force perpendicular to the axis of spin. Principle. In a solution, particle whose density is higher than that of solvent sink, sedimentation, and particles that are higher than it float to the top. The greater the difference in density, the faster they move. If there is no difference in density, then particles are stay steady. To take advantage of even tiny differences in density to separate various particles in a solution, gravity can be replaced with the much more powerful centrifugal force provided by centrifuge. Component of centrifuge. Basically there are four components of centrifuge, that is first one is motor. Motor give a rotor rotation, drive shaft attached to the motor. Rotor is placed on the drive shaft having space to place the tubes in which the centrifugation will be done. Next is centrifugal rotor. A rotor is rotating unit of centrifuge which has fixed holes drilled at angle. That means it has an angle. The test tube or the tubes in which we put the liquid which has to be separate out is put in this centrifugal rotor by a particular angle. These tubes are placed inside the holes. Holes are formed in the rotor. So those tubes in which we have to separate the mixture are put. We have to put that tubes in this centrifugal rotor. These are the rotor types. There are four types of rotor also: angle rotor, neo-angle rotor, vertical rotor and swing rotor. As we can see in diagram, this has a this first angle type rotor has a certain angle. Neo-angle rotor is a neo angle, that means it has not an particular angle. And vertical rotor, in this the tube are placed in a vertical position, and swing rotor, the tubes are placed and they swing when the rotor is rotated. These are the some type of, like this is swing bucket rotor in which the tubes are swinged. Fixed angle rotor, in this the angle of tube place is fixed. This is vertical rotor in which the tube are fixed in the vertical position. Materials: microbial cells having density 1.05 to 1.15. Next one is mammalian cells having density 1.04 to 1.10. Organelles having density 1.10 to 1.60. Proteins, DNA, RNA have the following densities. Types of centrifugation. There are basically two types of centrifugation. First is preparative centrifugation and another one is analytical centrifugation. Preparative centrifugation is a preliminary step in which we have to separate the components for further separation and analysis. It can handle large amount of sample. It is divided in two types. Preparative centrifugation is also divided in two types, that are density gradient centrifugation and differential velocity centrifugation. Next is analytical centrifugation. For analytical centrifugation, we analyze the sample so small amount is used, few microgram per liter to 1 ml. Mostly ultracentrifuge is used for the analytical centrifugations. Thank you everyone.